We start with a stunning reversal from President Trump on the release of the Epstein files. After months of calling it a, quote, Democratic hoax, the president called on House Republicans to vote in favor of the release. He added he has nothing to hide and it's time to move on. Last night, the president also took aim at Republicans who have been pushing him to release the files. Listen.
So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
CBS News White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins me now from the White House with more on this. So, Weijia, help us understand what's behind this change of heart from the president.
Well, President Trump explained it in that lengthy post, and also sources tell us behind the scenes that, frankly, he is just done talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He is incredibly frustrated that it is taking up so much oxygen, especially here in Washington, when he wants to be talking about issues that matter to him, like affordability and what he's doing on the border and tariffs and bringing prices down. And so that is part of the reason why he had this reversal. We use the word reversal, Vlad, because it was just last week that the White House was having conversations with the handful of Republicans who were on board with a discharge petition, which is the mechanism required to force this vote that we are going to see play out on the House floor tomorrow. And despite efforts to try to get some Republicans to remove their signature so they wouldn't have enough people on board to do that, it still happened. And on top of that, Vlad, our colleagues on the Hill reported that they were expecting many more Republicans to actually vote to demand the Justice Department release the files. And so politically, it's really difficult for him to go against so many in his own party who are calling for more transparency.
Yeah, and people may not realize this, Weijia. The president could direct the Department of Justice to release the files without Congress's approval. He hasn't done that. Instead, what he's done is he's called on the Justice Department to investigate notable Democrats with ties to Epstein, something Congressman Thomas Massie called a potential smokescreen. Explain that.
Yes, he did. And by the way, Thomas Massie, he's a congressman who is leading the charge to vote to force the DOJ to release these files. And he expressed concern, Vlad, because he said, look, if the president is demanding the DOJ open more investigations, new investigations into former President Bill Clinton, the former president of Harvard University, Larry Summers, and other Democrats, then the DOJ can say, look, we would love to release all these files, but we can't because of these open investigations. And that is why Massie is calling this a smokescreen. It's a potential escape hatch for the president to be able to continue demanding publicly that these files all be released, but then his Justice Department, or the Justice Department, I should say, is unable to do so because of these investigations that the president has now called for.
Yeah. All right, Weijia reporting from the White House for us this morning. Weijia, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much. I want to bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns to talk more about this. So Weijia described something interesting, Caitlin. A few weeks ago, some Republicans were tacking towards the president's point of view, which is they either didn't want to talk about it or they seem to be in support of what the president was suggesting, which is that we should all move on. Now we're seeing a number of Republicans who are probably going to vote to release these files tomorrow, and we may even see more. What's going on?
Yeah, Vlad, that is the thing to remember here, is that you are likely going to see a lot of Republicans on the House side vote for this measure to release the files. It's one thing to sign on to a discharge petition, as we just described, to force a vote. You only saw a handful of Republicans support that. But now that it was out there and going to be something to be voted on, you were always going to see a lot more Republicans vote for it than signed on to that petition. So in many ways, the president weighing in on this and saying, sure, go ahead. He's kind of behind the 8 ball here, and that was an attempt to get ahead of what is likely going to be a mass vote from Republicans to release these files. And the reason is, Vlad, is if you remember, this was such a key motivator among the base of the Republican Party, among Trump's base. I mean, I was recalling pictures from the RNC convention floor where people had shirts that said, release the Epstein client list. There was always this pressure within the base to move forward on this, and there was this hope that once Trump took office, they would see those files. A lot of that was because a lot of these Republicans thought that there would be a lot on Democrats in those files as well. And so that helps explain this kind of fissure in the base that we're seeing manifest in the way in which Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump have diverged here, diverged to put it mildly, I should say. And so what you're going to see tomorrow is a lot of Republicans signing on to this because this is something that they all wanted, you know, before Trump took office. The question is, Vlad, what the Senate does. Because before Trump's comments over the weekend, encouraging people to vote for it, the Senate had no appetite to take this up. Now that will likely change.
Yeah, that will be very, very interesting. And of course, the fate of the vote tomorrow is probably certain. Those files, they will vote to release those files, but the fate of how it lands in the Senate is unknown. But let me ask you about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says that she's facing threats because of her tensions with the president. And I thought, interestingly, she was asked about the fact that over the course of the term of her time in Congress and in her support of President Trump, it was okay when the president was going after other people. Now that the energy is directed at her, she's coming out in public and saying that she's getting death threats. How is she responding to what the president is saying, where he has made up nicknames for her and is suggesting that he will no longer endorse her?
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting divide here in the Republican Party and the Trump base, because she has said, look, I've been there for you since the beginning, but she's also expressed some disagreements with some of his policies lately on immigration and the economy and other things. The important thing to note, too, is that she said over the weekend that, yes, she realized that she also contributed to toxic politics and the discourse. But take a listen to how Trump responded to when he was asked about Marjorie Taylor Greene getting these threats.
Her life is in danger. Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
So, as you can see, no love lost there, but there is this real concern about threats to lawmakers that preceded all of this, only likely to be intensified now. Vlad.
Yeah, for sure. We should point out, of course, that the Congresswoman during that interview with CNN apologized, said that she understood that she had contributed to that the toxic politics in this country. So we'll see where it all goes. It really is very, very interesting to see what is happening. And I guess we'll be talking throughout the course of the day and certainly tomorrow, Caitlin, when that vote happens in the House. We appreciate you. Thank you.